I will start sharing.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Florida After School webinar with our good friends at Mizzen Education. We are super excited to welcome back this team. The session today is being recorded, so you might be joining us live, or you might be watching this from the confines of your own home and kind of filling up with all that you can for resources that become available in your spare time, and we welcome you just as much. In just a few moments, we will get started. I'm going to allow the couple of folks who are still in the waiting room and getting connected to audio to have just a little bit more time to get fully connected. And then we will turn it over to our fabulous team from Mizzen Education. And until they, one more second. Awesome. All right, Haley, I am going to spotlight you and Kristen, and you guys can take it away.
Awesome. Thank you, Holly. Welcome, everyone. We're super excited to be here with you all today for what we've called Cultivating Creative Confidence and Youth Development. We're excited to dive into that topic with you all today. And as folks are jumping in, just let us know. This is kind of a fun question. I told Haley earlier this week, I feel like a bouncy ball this week, bouncing from project to project to project and then again. So if you were to name an inanimate object that represents you this week, what would it be?
If you need another example, I told Kristen I felt like a slap bracelet from like the 90s / early 2000s.
Yeah, love it.
So a statue. Ooh, I like that. What kind of statue, Holly? Bronze, gold, marble?
So I got called in to do a special project for one of my South Florida people. And when I got down there, I was really tall and I decided to wear heels. And so I just felt very statuesque because I was doing a presentation, but I had to stay at a podium instead of walking around because that was the only microphone they had. And so, I don't know, I just felt very stuck, but I was just larger than life. It's a lot of fun.
Love that.
Nice. Oh, a cat. I like that. Sleep all day. Love it. Love it. I love a good nap.
Mm-hmm.
So rejuvenating. Oh, I love it. Well, we are glad to be with you today. As we get started, we invite you to find a piece of paper and a writing utensil. We will need that later for the workshop. And so we don't want you to have to rush around when we get to that activity. So as we, get going today, just find a piece of paper and a writing utensil. And with that, I will go ahead and we'll introduce ourselves real quickly. I'm Kristen Stayer, and my colleague Haley Minke is with us. Our pronouns are she, her. She's based out of Los Angeles, California, and I'm based out of Indianapolis, Indiana. And we serve on the Mizzen Education team and have worked really closely with the Florida After School Network in a couple of different settings in the past year or so, and are really grateful to be here today in this space virtually with you all. And excited to dig into conversation. This will be an interactive and conversation-based webinar. So if you're comfortable, we totally invite you to come on camera, have a conversation with us, right? Like unmute yourself, drop something in the chat, totally fine. If you're able to and you're comfortable doing so, we invite you in that space. Awesome. All right, Haley, I'll pass it to you.
Thank you. Another request for you in the chat, just as you're, again, settling in. If you could say, if you're familiar with Mizzen, you can just do a simple yes or no. And that can be, yes, I've heard of you, I've used you. It sounds a little bit familiar from one of the email blasts that comes into my email inbox. And it's also totally okay to say, I have no idea what Mizzen is, what it means, or who these people are. because that's why we're here. We're here to explain that, share some free resources with you, and have a good time. So as we're reflecting and sharing your comfortability with Mizzen, I'll just give you a quick overview. So Mizzen Education, we are a nonprofit who has been designed by, with, and for the field, for our out-of-school time community, where we really want to develop and pioneer solutions that meet the needs of out-of-school time practitioners and youth. We really pride ourselves and are always striving to work with our community of practitioners to make sure that we're creating a platform that serves the needs and the wants. So we work with youth serving practitioners like the Florida State After School Network, direct service organizations, other nonprofits in the education sphere to really cultivate and ideate and collaborate to create something that matters. We like to think of ourselves as kind of like the vetted Pinterest. We are a completely free digital learning resource hub. I'll talk more about the platform in a second, but wanted to say it like 18 times. We are a free resource because we know that that is also needed in the field. We deal with some fun budget constraints, and we have to sometimes be creative, which we'll spend a lot of our time talking about today. But we want to help in that creativity by offering you a free resource. So again, no strings attached, just free. So with that, like I said, our purpose is to partner with the out-of-school time field to provide high-quality resources and experiences that spark curiosity, joy, and a love of learning. And we strive to do that through three main buckets that you see here on the screen. The first is our content. We partner with experts in the field, in their fields like JASA Lincoln Center, Pulitzer Center, NASA, the Nature Conservancy, to take their content, put it on our platform, make sure that it's curated and set up for OST spaces, and then release it to our community for free. And then also, speaking of the community, and something that is also we're going to talk about a lot is relying on the expertise in the room and building a community of like-minded practitioners as a space for you to come explore, engage, share your wins, share your challenges, bounce ideas off of each other, because we really believe in the collective wisdom of our community. And then lastly, through experiences. So events like this, or if you're, you might have seen us at the Florida After School Network conference, or if you've seen us at some other conferences, but then also thinking about just learning experiences in general. How can we create spaces that are inclusive, that are fun, that are creative, that are warm, that are inviting, and that create that life, spark joy and love of learning. So Mizzen in a minute. This gives you a little bit of an overview of what our platform looks like. We currently have over 1,600 pieces of content, and that's continuing to grow. Again, all completely free. I don't know why that is not playing. There we go. And everything is set up the same way. So whether it's a STEM lesson, an SEL lesson, a health and wellness lesson, everything is going to go through the same format. My internet's going a little funky today, but hopefully there we go. You can see it. And this library is constantly growing. So we have some really exciting partners coming up later this year. I'm not going to give anything away. You have to stay in touch with us / get your free account. But we have some really cool things that are coming up to continue to grow that library. You can access it via a mobile app that you can download in Google Play or on the App Store. But it's also web-based. So you can find it on your desktop. You can just pull it up on Safari on your phone. So super accessible in a lot of ways. And then we have a lot of time-saving and collaborative tools. So you can schedule directly onto a group. You can message your colleagues in a team account. You can bookmark, you can print, you can share, you can do all of these things, all designed, again, to create a one-stop tool for you that matters. So with that, I'm going to toss it back to Kristen. And if at any point you have questions about Mizzen, feel free to put it in the chat and we'll try to answer it.
Yeah. Awesome. Thanks, Haley. So today, as we jump in and we think about the platform, we think about content and resources, we're going to start first with talking about the idea of belonging and design. So belonging really, and thinking, through this kind of equation, we're going to share two equations today. This first equation, though, and this idea of belonging and design really can create new ways of bringing people together, or even new ways of being people together. Like you heard Haley say in the beginning, so much of our work is rooted in that togetherness and the community and the experiences that are created, both like across the states in the way that people use Mizzen and interact in different community experiences, but then in the ways that you create and design programs alongside of your families and your youth. Um, and so while you can't design a feeling, you can learn how to recognize that and how to positively influence feelings of belonging, whether it's a ritual that brings folks together, spaces that keep us calm, or roles that create a sense of responsibility. Maybe it's the systems and the data that help us to feel respected, or communications that help us to create understanding and more. And so today, as we go through this workshop, we just invite you to keep close to your mind the prompt, how might we? So for an example, how might we make intentional opportunities for young people to experience, to interact, to make meaning of their learning as the central vehicle for their development? Or how might we create conditions that foster both learning the academic content and simultaneously the development of young people in a holistic way? So thinking again, how might we? So as we look at designing or belonging and design, we're going to think too about mindsets and practices. So today, the mindset that we really want to focus in on is this idea of creative confidence. We know that out of school time, professionals and educators are human centered. It's the work that we do, right? Connecting with other people and being in relationship as we strive to create spaces and help young people learn and grow. We're testers and tinkerers, and we find a surprising amount of time not knowing the answer to a challenge at hand, and yet we forge ahead. I know that we've met many optimists and makers and experimenters and learners. We're big empathizers, right? We iterate and we plan and we pivot when things don't go right. Like you all had mentioned in the chat, using Mizzen on a rainy day, when your plan needs to alter. Um, and so we make our ideas in this tangible way so that we can, test them and then keep refining them. And the end of all of that, our approach amounts to creativity, to continue to push and to innovate. And so with this mindset of creative confidence, it is truly the notion that we have big ideas and we have the ability to act on them. This workshop's rooted in the belief that everyone is creative. And I'm not just talking about picking up a paintbrush or, singing a song, but creativity, like any other leadership skill, can be learned and practiced. And it's again, sticking with it. And I know that you'll surprise yourself. I know I surprise myself when I continue to stick with an issue or a challenge at hand and think about how to creatively, interact and solve that problem. So the practice side of things, alongside of creative confidence, is this idea of what we call our triple threat equation. So this is an approach to youth development and programming that is thinking about our experiences that we plan being highly engaging, brain-friendly, and youth-led. So creative confidence goes hand in hand with this, and we're going to unpack these three practices with tangible ways to implement it and ways to use Mizzen's platform as a way to implement the practices. And then finally, and I'm going to stop here for a second. We do have a QR code. We can also send this as a follow-up PDF, but this PDF or this QR code will take you to a PDF. That is our triple threat design guide. You're going to see in there a breakdown in much more detail of the elements of a highly engaging, youth-led, and brain-friendly program. You're going to find specific thoughts about how it looks, sounds, and feels. along with a couple of other resources in there. So in addition to our design guide and the triple threat that we're going to be talking about today, I want us to think about design levers. So think about in mechanics, right? A lever is a device that makes moving a force or a weight easier. So in design, and again, I'm talking about design and the program design, right? In the out of school time spaces that we're in. A lever is a tool that you can use to make moving toward your goal easier. And by working with these levers, you can help to shape belonging. So this work obviously requires creating those concrete experiences, the environments, the modes of engagement, and even sometimes tangible objects. So here are some starting points of some design levers that we encourage us to all play with and test and use in our spaces. So for example, we have space. So whether it's indoors or out, it can help us find cues to what and how and who we can be. Roles, they're often assumed rather than assigned. And so roles are powerful for how redesigning how the community that you're in interacts with one another. And then rituals, for example. Rituals are even more specific than just holding an event, right? Rituals signal that there's careful intention and there's rituals in place to help manage and the flow through a program afternoon or a summer program or before school. So we're going to be thinking about those design levers in context of belonging and the creative confidence mindset. We're going to start by taking a look at our first element of the equation, which is highly engaging. And so Haley's going to walk us through that.
Thanks, Kristen. And I also just dropped the link in the chat as well to the triple threat design guide if you didn't get a chance to pull it up on the QR. If you'd like to follow along, like Kristen said, this goes much more in depth with some examples. But the first part of the equation is this idea of creating a highly engaging atmosphere that can be specific to an activity. It can be specific to a transition. It can be just a general, like, how do we create something that's highly engaging? So think about this through multiple ways. So again, going back to that, how might we incorporate these components into different areas of our program or a staff training or an email, right? All of these different places. So when we talk about highly engaging, we have these 4 main points that we like to think about. First one being joy and gratitude. So how are we setting the temperature and the culture in the environment, right? How are we setting that space to invite people in and encourage that sense of belonging and inclusion? This could be something like a warm welcome, right? Something as simple as making eye contact with someone and smiling and saying, thank you for being here today, right? We know that youth vote with their feet. And so encouraging and acknowledging and thanking them, being like, we're so glad that you're here today, right? Also, just think about how you like to be acknowledged. What does joy and gratitude feel like for you? And how can you share that with other people to really encourage that culture and encourage that community to build from kind of the inside out? Second, with active learning, highly important for us to do more and talk less. And I always like to recognize the irony in this as I'm up here and I'm sharing and being like, I want you to do more as I'm talking and lecturing at you, but really finding that balance of where can we step away from sharing via a PowerPoint or through a lecture and encourage hands-on active learning. Where can we do project-based? Where can we do a skit? Where can we do research led by youth? Then thinking about connection before content. So going kind of in with that joy and gratitude space, how are we setting an environment where we can create a community before we even touch the content, right? We engage and we give effort with what we love and what we're interested in. And so think about it again for spaces where you've been in. Where do you feel more engaged? Is it in spaces where you feel comfortable sharing your thoughts and your feelings because you have a friend in the room, because there's a familiar face, because the facilitator has created that environment where it feels safe to engage? Or are those spaces where you've come in and you're like kind of sitting in the back and you're keeping to yourself because that connection piece wasn't initiated at the start. So thinking about where can youth connect with other youth, can they connect with you as the instructor or the facilitator, where can they connect with the subject at hand, and where can they connect with the learning environment. And then lastly, the piece, attention and focus. Where the attention goes, the energy flows. So thinking about how can you quickly get attention through a hook, through an attention getter? Can you make it relevant to them, right? I'm sure we're all on TikTok in some way, even if we're not making TikToks, we've seen them on Instagram Reels or something, but keeping a pulse on what are those phrases that are getting stuck in their heads, those little nuggets, and how can you use that as an attention getter or a hook to pull people in? Because again, we're making it relevant to them, so they're going to engage with it more. Oops, sorry. So would love to give an example from one of our content partners, and a piece of an activity that you can find on the platform. And so if you're comfortable, we invite you to turn your camera on for this activity, but also we are going to do a little bit of movement together. So if you'd rather turn your camera off and then rejoin us virtually in a little bit, that's totally cool too. But this is a activity called Alphabet Stretch from our friends over at Power Up Fitness. It requires no materials. And what I'm going to ask you to do is using our bodies, we're going to stretch and kind of make our bodies fit different alphabet letters into a word. So let's, for the first word, we're going to do the word play. So if you feel comfortable, you can move, you can sit in your chair, you can do it with your arms, your legs, whatever kind of movement you need for yourself in this moment. But starting with a P. So a lowercase p, how would you in your body make a lowercase p? So we're going to hold it for a second because we're stretching. And then the next letter is an L. So going lowercase L. What does that feel like in your body? I love that Kristen's doing an uppercase L because that's okay. Maybe this word is that's okay. Maybe this word is capitalized for us today. Maybe we're really excited about playing and it's all capitalized. Right. That's okay. So then, Kristen, what's our next letter?
A.
A. So maybe it's a lowercase a, whatever that feels like for you in your body. I don't know how I get my little tail in there. My mom as a kindergarten teacher would be very upset if I didn't put my little A tail on there, but maybe it's an uppercase. And then Kristen, what's our next letter?
It's a Y.
A Y. So stretching into that Y and doing a little bit of alphabet stretch. All right, Holly, I'm going to put you on the spot. Can you give us another word that you want us to spell out right now?
Cat.
Cat. Beautiful. Like Holly, what's the first letter of our word?
C.
A C. All right, so I'm going to go, you can't see my lower half, but I'm going to do a full body C, so I move a little bit. All right, Kristen, what's our next letter?
A.
Back to that lowercase a. However I did that. I don't remember how I did that.
It was good.
Thank you. My tail. And then our last one, a T. A T. Perfect. All right. So that's just a little bit of our alphabet stretch game. If you'd like to rejoin us virtually, we would love to see your beautiful faces. Thank you for stretching with us. Hopefully that felt good in your body. But just wanted to give an example of, again, creativity is not always in the traditional art forms, right? We love that creativity, but creativity lives everywhere. So something like an alphabet stretch is a great way to empower creativity because you have to figure out, how do I make a lowercase a with a tail, right? And also you can totally make these words be connected to the content. It's a great way to work on capitalization, just recognition of letters. If there's vocabulary that you're learning, you can do it for everyone. So with that, I'm going to toss it back to Kristen.
Awesome. So with this activity, again, that you can find on the Mizzen platform, we just experienced a taste of some highly engaging elements and practices in action. We did something together. We created community. We involved other participants to ping pong and say some ideas and letters. And we had active learning happening. So specifically thinking about the active learning piece and the connection before content, right? We were connecting about words and movement. And then let's pull in that design lever of schedules and rhythms. Thinking about this, excuse me, where in your schedule can you find ways to design conversation, sharing moments, youth spotlights, camaraderie, competition even, and empathy between youth? So I'd love for us to just take a few minutes to have a conversation about this. Maybe it's something you do that you found really to be successful in your program, or maybe it's something that, as we've been talking through these ideas of design levers and belonging and highly engaging programming, what are some ideas that might come to your mind that you're like, oh yeah, I could totally build in XYZ so that we're designing spaces for connection or competition or empathy? So feel free to come off of mute. We can have a conversation. Would love anybody else's voices in this space as well as we brainstorm together. Yes, our collective wisdom. Yeah, I can absolutely repeat the question. And you can also see it on the screen if you want to visually look at it as well. But where in your schedule, in your program schedule, can you find ways to design moments of conversation, of sharing, of youth spotlights, camaraderie, competition, empathy between students in a way that creates that connection before content or active learning? Dustin, do you have something? I saw you come off mute.
I'll come off mute. My name's Shannon Krakonis. I feel like during snack time is a great opportunity to talk with youth. You know, people, when you're eating a meal or you're eating something, it's filling your body, mind and spirit. So I do feel like snack time is an opportunity to build that with your kiddos and the staff with whom you're working, if I understood the question correctly.
Absolutely. Yeah, I agree. One thing I used to do in an elementary setting program is kind of just create DIY placemats with like bigger, 11 by 17 paper or whatever. And you can even have the students do this, right? Like to create question prompts, maybe they're seasonal based or activity based for snack time, right? We're sharing, we're breaking bread together, but then there's also activities right within that food that we're stopping and creating that camaraderie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's absolutely a great one. Thank you. Any other ways that you all build connection before content or something that's in your schedule and in your rhythms of your program? Becky, we like to do role play games to teach empathy, or this or that games. That's awesome.
Becky, if you're comfortable, do you mind coming off mute and just explaining more about what that empathy role-playing game is like?
Sure. So we have a lot of, our program is not as structured for our aftercare program. It's a lot of just meeting the social interaction needs of the kids. We tell them all the time, this is the one place where you can come where we don't really worry about how well you're reading or if you can do all your math facts. We just meet you where you are. So you get to learn a lot about, especially your more creative kiddos. So we'll come up with different scenarios, like even on the playground, and role playing, especially with little ones, could be simple, like Miss Becky's going to be Princess Darling today, and Princess Darling lost her shoe and it was her most favorite shoe. What should we do? And in that way, it helps them connect that there's, that emotion that needs to be met. She's sad. She lost her favorite thing. We can come together, help solve the problem, and find the shoe. So just little things like that that we enjoy doing with the kiddos.
That's great. Thank you for sharing those examples.
Hmm.
Mhm. Any other ones before we move on? We'll also, or Dustin, do you have something?
Uh, no, I don't.
Okay. I saw you come off
Sorry.
mute. You're welcome to share. No, you're good. Awesome. Okay, well, we are going to move into our second part of the triple threat equation, which is brain friendly.
Perfect. So again, we kind of have these four tenets that we rely on when we talk about brain friendly. And also, as you're going through the triple threat design guide and as we're talking through it, you'll notice that a lot of these are connected to other pieces, right? So a lot of times when you talk about connection before content, there's also components that are brain friendly or that are youth led, and you can hit multiple strategies in one action that you do or one ritual that you create, one schedule that you set up. So I just wanted to call out that these are not necessarily individual things. You can use a lot of them to combine together to really make that equation stick. So with this one, acknowledgement. We strongly, strongly believe that if it's worth doing, it's worth celebrating, right? So again, saying you learned something new, that's so cool. Or when Becky was sharing about her Princess Darling example, right? Celebrating the end as they're exploring that empathy, as they're stretching those muscles, as they're putting those connections together, finding ways to celebrate those moments of a win, right? So thinking about like as we're celebrating, as we're increasing feelings of pride and pleasure and self-esteem, that releases a chemical called dopamine, and that really helps us make us happy and excited, and is connected to the rewards and pleasure center of our brain. So not only does it make us feel good in our souls, but also it literally does something in our body to make us more excited. So that can also lead to increased problem solving, some more creativity, some more innovative thinking. And if someone feels celebrated and acknowledged in that joy and gratitude space, then again, they all just kind of come together. And it's a really great way of supporting and making people feel like they belong. So secondly, curiosity and discovery. You'll notice this goes hand in hand with active learning, but really leading with inquiry-based learning. So finding things that pique our curiosity, that allow us to go deeper, that are more meaningful for you as you're like, I wonder, or what if, or how might we, right? There's a sense of ownership of, okay, now I have that curiosity bug and I want to chase down that answer because it's more meaningful for me. Next, novelty and new. So think about how exciting it is for you when you find a new task or you do something new for the first time and you really enjoy it. Maybe it's you walked a new route with your dog, right? Or you tried a new creamer in your coffee, or you discovered that you really like painting by numbers and that's something novel and new. And then excitement that it comes with to then, oh, I want to keep doing this, right? It stimulates our brain in a little bit of a different way. It breaks up the routine, it breaks up the monotony, and is again encouraging our brain to go down that path, right? So thinking about how can we bring in things that are novel and new for our youth. Maybe it's adding in trivia. Maybe it's adding in or changing the space. So if it's a really nice day, can we go do this outside, right? Instead of inside our classroom? Can we take our snack outside? Can we eat snack in a different part of the cafeteria? What new small things can you implement as you go along? And then lastly, multisensory. How can we get more of ourselves involved in the learning? Where can we have tactile things? Where can we use our hands to build or touch? Can we do something with sand? Because that's a new texture. Can I use like modeling clay for something? If I'm in a cooking class, can I squish a tomato with my hands before I cut it, right? Like, what other ways can we add in multisensory, smell, touch, sight? If I'm lecturing or if I'm sharing something, can I also have a visual aid? Can I use music? And again, a lot of this stuff already exists. So let's say you're talking through the bones, right? You're doing an anatomy project. The Miley Cyrus bone song from Hannah Montana from like the early 2000s, use that, right? You don't have to make up a bone song, but it's something catchy that explores the content in a new way. And that earworm's going to get stuck in your head. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, please go YouTube the Miley Cyrus bone song and you'll be singing it for the next week. And then you'll just remember all the bones in your hands. So again, would love to explore this concept a little bit through an activity. This is another activity that you can find on our platform from our amazing partners, Impact Players. They're all about SEL and teamwork games. So they have 50 games on there that go across multiple categories. Sometimes they're STEM, sometimes they're, like I said, SEL, sometimes they're health and wellness, but they're really easy games that you can implement very quickly. So we're going to play one right now called Writer's Block. So this is where I'm going to ask you to grab, oh, thank you, Holly, for having that up and ready already. She just dropped the YouTube link for Hannah Montana for you to watch in about 20 minutes when we wrap up. But right now I'm going to ask you to grab your writing utensil and your piece of paper, and I will give you just a couple seconds to grab that. Perfect. I see that we have it ready. All right. Sorry, that's my dog. He's also very excited about writer's block, apparently, if you heard that bark. All right, so what I'm going to ask you to do is grab your piece of paper and grab your writing utensil and your dominant hand. Okay, I'm going to put a timer on the clock, and you are going to have 1 minute to write this word when I say start as many times as you can. Okay, so you're going to write the word youth. It can be all lowercase, it can be all uppercase, totally up to you, okay? But you have 1 minute to write the word youth as many times as you can. All right, ready? Oh, wait, Kristen, I think I'm forgetting something. Do you remember what the challenge is for this one? Do you remember?
Gosh.
Oh gosh, maybe
What? Yeah.
maybe we shouldn't make it so easy, right? Because it is called
No.
writer's block. So maybe you should put that writing utensil in your non-dominant hand.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. So you're going to put that writing utensil in your non-dominant hand. So if you normally write with your right hand, you're going to put it on your left. If you normally write with your left, you're going to put it in your right. And if you're ambidextrous, congratulations, you just won this round. But again, you're going to put up a timer for 1 minute. You're still going to write this word youth, all upper or all lowercase, totally up to you. But you have 1 minute on the clock. Ready, set, write. I'll throw some music on for you. All right, my timer's acting up, so you got about 10 more seconds.
That internet, huh?
All right, 3, 2, 1. Writing utensil down. All right. How was that? How did that feel? I see Holly shaking her head. So fun. Stretched our brain a little bit. All right.
Anyone want to share their images?
Yeah. What does it look like?
Is it legible?
All right. Oh, Sophia just put hers up. Nice. Okay, I like it. All right, so I'm going to ask everyone to tally up how many times you wrote that down and just make a little mark for yourself on the side. Just put a little tally. How many times you were able to write youth in that 1 minute stretch. Sophia was on it. All right, 14. Nice, Francine. 11. Okay, we have some very, very talented, maybe ambidextrous people. Again, not sure if it's legible,
so.
but at least you figured out how to do it, right? All right, ready for the next round? Okay, so this time you're going to write the word fun. F-U-N. Okay, it can be, again, all uppercase, all lowercase. You can mix it up if you want upper and lowercase, totally up to you. But when I say go, you're going to have 1 minute to write the word fun as many times as you can. Okay. Ready for the next challenge? You're not going to use your left hand this time. I'm going to switch it up on you. Our next challenge is I want you to take that pen or that writing utensil and you're going to grasp your hands around it. Okay? So if you can see that pen is in the middle of that writing utensil, and this is how you are going to write the word fun. F-U-N. All right, are we ready? 1 minute on the clock. Hopefully it works this time, and if not, I'll just give it to you, but ready, set, go.
I don't know. I feel like this is going faster for me. I don't know. Let's go. Let's see how many people
How's that going?
love a competition.
He is incredibly competitive, as I'm sure we all are in the out of school time field.
Yep.
All right, about 30 more seconds. Keeping it moving. All right, last 10 seconds. Get those last couple funs in there. Three, two, one, done. Writing utensil down. How was that? Was it funkier? Was it easier? What was that like? 21 easy. I love that Missy already was like, I'm gonna tally. I know what's expected of me here. 25 funkier. Dang! I'm sorry, I don't know if it's Brianna or Brianna, but 32. Okay, so that was way easier for you. All right, good to know. How legible should it be? Totally up to you, Becky, if you want to count that. But yes, okay, go ahead and count it up. Anyone want to show us what it looks like on your screen? Kristen, what does your fun look like? Okay, I'm able to read some of these. They're still pretty legible.
It looks like Finn, but
all right, friends. Okay, our last and final round. There are some stipulations about how you write this word, okay? You are going to be writing the word I. Just the word I. Nice and easy. However, it must have its little hat and it must have its tail. Okay, we can't just do the line. We're writing the word I, but you have to have the hat and you have to have the tail. All right, and at this point, you know, I'm not going to make it easy on you. We're not going to be using just our dominant hand. So this time, I want you to take that writing utensil. I want you to put your arm out. Writing utensil goes in your elbow, and you're going to write like this. Okay, so that writing utensil goes in the crook of your elbow for this one. And again, you have to have your little hat and your little tail on your letter I. All right, 1 minute on the clock. Ready, set, write.
feel like I can do this to the beat of the music.
All right, you got about 20 more seconds, my friends. Five, 4, 3, 2, 1. Drop that writing utensil. I absolutely love watching the faces of concentration as people do this and how closely we get to it. Our elbows and our heads end up in line. Just try and see what we're doing. And it is very, very fun to watch. So thank you for those of you who came off camera or came on camera so I could enjoy that. Okay. Go ahead, tally it up. And again, you must have that little hat and that little tail. And I would love if someone feels comfortable coming off mute, just tell us what that was like, what that whole situation was like. What went through your head when I told you to put your pen in your elbow?
I'll come off mute. I didn't realize how hard it would be to actually keep the pen in my elbow. So a lot of all of the eyes are barely even seen on the paper.
Sophia, what was it like for you?
I felt very weird. I was like, this must be how someone who doesn't have hands will feel, of their disability. But then the more I practiced, the farther along I got down the paper, the better my eyes started to get. So I say the more practice, the better. So even though it looked very funky in the beginning, it started to look good around the 50-second mark.
There you go. I love it, Holly.
I think so it was very, very difficult, but then I discovered if I made it like Roman numerals and just made a whole bunch of straight lines and then crossed them all at the same time. So I hit 30, but it's because I had rows of 8 at a time because it was, just one long line. So I felt, because like Sophia described, I felt like this is weird, it's not working. And I was like, wait a minute, if I can just get into a rhythm, right?
I love that creativity in action. We never said that you couldn't do that. So look, a creative
they all have
to a
their
challenge that
their
you didn't know you had.
So.
Play by the rules while being creative. That is a perfect example of what we're talking about today, Holly. I love that. Thank you so much, everyone, for playing along with us and for stretching your brain in a little bit of a new way. So now what I'm going to ask y'all to do is tally up all that you have, total number of words that you wrote across all 3 of those rounds, and put your total number of tallies in the chat, because the top 3 people will be getting a $5 Starbucks gift card from us today. You didn't know that you were going to have a little bit of a competition when you walked into this, but the top 3 people will be getting a $5 Starbucks gift card courtesy of Team Mizzen. And with that, I'm going to toss it back over to Kristen.
Ooh, so many things within brain-friendly practices in action here that we just experienced. Acknowledgement, right? If it's worth doing, it's worth celebrating. Prime example, we're celebrating 3 of you for your highest numbers of points there for this fun little competition. We had curiosity and discovery happening. And as you can see, there's just a lot of different ways to look at this activity and see how it can be a brain-friendly experience. So when we pull in that design lever of rituals, what ritual can you build? Or maybe you do already use, again, you're welcome to share an example of something you use and do. When you introduce a new learning topic or a learning project to your young people, what's a fun ritual that you could build in so that they know, hey, we're doing something new here. It's something that is something that's come to be expected, something fun, something novel or new, that ultimately builds that belonging. Anyone have any rituals they use when introducing a new topic or ideas for doing it? I love bringing in physical props into new learning. Say we're going to do a new unit on I don't know, travel or global studies or something of that sort. I love bringing in items that maybe don't introduce the topic with words right ahead, but let them discover with items and artifacts.
So I'll share. When I work with youth, anything that can physically make them move and get out of their seats and sit next to or stand next to not the person that they came in with. Like that's the whenever I go into a classroom, they typically, right, they hover with people that they know. And so I think however I can get them to mix it up, I want to mix it up.
That's great. Thank you. Awesome. Well, in impact player games, like we said on Mizzen platform, there's 50 of them, and there's so many. When you do an activity in a game and you have it with some intention and purpose, these are also awesome ways to introduce new topics. You could go on and search all of their games and find some way to connect somehow. So that could be a ritual you build in for sure at a new unit as well. Well, I know there's lots of creative and brilliant ideas. If you continue to think of them, please feel free to drop them in the chat. And we're going to continue moving into our final practice, which is youth-led.
Beautiful. Thanks. So last part of our triple equation, of course, we still have 4 tenets. We like to keep them consistent here, but 4 main points that we like to talk about when we think about youth-led. One is youth roles. And that's something that Kristen also chatted about earlier, where a lot of times roles tend to be assumed instead of assigned. So we want to find places where we can have our youth step into leadership roles. And that can be something really small. But I want you to think about if an adult can do it, a youth can do it, right? So are there places where a youth can be the one to hand out snacks? Can they be the one in charge of picking the music for the day, right? Can the youth create a playlist that goes on all the time? Can a youth watch the impact players game and go facilitate it for the group themselves, right? So challenging ourselves to step away from the front and finding places for youth to come in and take ownership, right? So the brain that does the work does the learning. So finding ways for them to take ownership of their experience, of the content, of their transition, of the program, right? Not only flexes their leadership skills, but then also goes into creating that community space. And then along with that, finding places where we can really dig into youth voice and choice, right? Helping youth to shape the program that they want to see. So maybe it's something like on Fun Fridays, asking them, what kind of games do you want to play? Or can we give them 10 options to choose from and they go from there, right? So we can still sometimes impose limits as we need because we are still the adults, we are still the ones who need to make sure that they're safe. But where can we allow them to take that leadership, take that ownership? Can they dictate what we talk about in STEM class? Can we do a survey and ask them, what kind of STEM materials do you want to explore, right? Or do you want to talk about engineering? In a cooking class, can we ask them to find a recipe that they want to explore, right? So finding place where they get to explain their experiences and their ideas and see it reflected in their spaces. Also thinking through planning and reflection, right? So constantly doing the learning cycle, having them involved in every step of the way where it's possible. So again, can they help plan what it is? Can they help put it into action? And then making sure that we find that time to reflect with them and that continuous quality improvement, modeling it for them, but also giving them a space to talk about their experiences. And then lastly, peer-to-peer really goes along with all of this, finding places where they can do active learning and active learning together without us dictating what it is, right? So are they able to, like I said, facilitate an activity for each other, right? Are they able to explore and research together? Can they hand out snacks together? Can they do question prompts for each other? But finding places where they get to connect with each other and share their experiences with one another. So with that, we don't have a direct activity that we're going to do here, but wanted to show you an example of an activity where you can really see a lot of youth-led components on our Mizzen platform. These are from our amazing partners at the Pulitzer Center. So I'm going to flip over. This is our Mizzen platform, and I will pull up that activity. So this also shows you a little bit of what our platform looks like. So like I said, everything is set up the exact same way. So everything's going to start with an introduction and an overview. And also this is where you can see from the beginning that this can be a really great youth-led activity. So in this learning objective, in our story to solution activity, we're asking our youth to identify issues that matter to them. So this is part of Pulitzer Center's journalism unit and module and storytelling. So in this, we're asking our youth to think about their own lives and experiences and what's directly affecting them, and then also connect it to their community. So it's a great example of that youth voice and that youth choice where we're relying on them to dictate kind of where this activity goes, still within bounds, still within structure, but is allowing them to share their own experiences. And then you can also use peer-to-peer learning in this because they can share with each other about what issues they see and what issues they're hearing about in their community and what matters to them. And also, this is a really great example of how you can turn a project into youth roles. So this is an example of one of the project packets that's associated with this. And this is where you can work with your youth to figure out what roles will be needed and then actively assign roles within a small group, right? So this could be, you need a scribe, you need someone to jot down the notes. You could have a team of researchers who are going to look at these different components, these different links, and research it and report back to the group. You could have someone who's in charge of putting together the presentation as they're then going to present it back to the team. Or maybe there's something else. Maybe there's other roles that they think would be really beneficial here, but being very explicit about these are the roles that we're going to create, and this is who's going to do the roles so that they have a sense of ownership. And you've heard me say that word a lot, but I'm going to keep using it, really owning their experience. Kristen, back to you.
Awesome. I'm just going to touch on this. We're not going to have a discussion point because I want to be sure to have just our closing slide up there for you all. But essentially really think again to that question, how can you plan roles around youth and not just youth around the roles? That design lever of roles obviously ties closely with the youth roles that we're talking about, but roles play such a big part when you're designing spaces for belonging, to make sure not just that people feel seen, but that their voices are included, their perspectives, their participation shapes the experience and space that you're creating. So with that, I want to slide over to the next slide real quickly here. Obviously, we were talking a lot too about the planning and the debrief and marking our learning. So we love to end sessions with an OMG moment here, which we call one meaningful goal. This is something fun you can use with your young folks as well. But think through just in 15 seconds even, what's one practical goal that you're going to set for yourself after participating in this workshop. So maybe that's rethinking youth roles. Maybe that's doing some self-reflection on your own creative confidence. Whatever that might be, just take a few seconds to jot that down for yourself today. And then finally, we just want to share again how to access the Mizzen platform. You can connect with us on different social platforms and things like that. I don't know, they're just not working, not showing. It's at Mizzen Education is our tags for all of the social platforms. But then also we want to just put up the slide for you to be able to scan a QR code or you can visit Mizzen.org, and we'll get that up. There we go. Feel free to email us. Our email is there, info@mizzen.org. But then also would just invite you to take a look at the website. You can get to the account information from there. To sign up for your free account, again, you can use you can download as an app in the App Store, but you could also just go to a browser and access it in that capacity as well. The final thing I want to say about accounts is that we also offer what's called a team account. And so we're happy to help on the back end, upload and onboard you and your team to have accounts that are connected. So you can schedule together, you can map out plans, you could share messages of hey, I found this resource, this lesson plan, check it out. So we are happy to help talk with you about that. It's just a great collaborative tool that you can use. Again, it doesn't cost anything additional. We can just help you on the back end get it all set up. All right. Holly, I'll hand it back over to you.
Thank you guys so much, Haley and Kristen. It was fun. Like, that's what I'm going to say, is that it was absolutely incredibly fun. And I think that that's what makes this experience, when you're learning in a virtual setting, more engaging, I think is the best way of putting it. So I just want to thank both of you for joining us this way. We at Florida After School are hosting a series of some regional workshops coming up in early April, primarily in North and Central Florida. So if folks are interested in that, you will probably see some of these activities. Not the ones that we did here today, but how we can leverage Mizzen to really make those experiences fun, not only so that you can learn by doing, but also just for that you can then take them forward into those different sessions. We'll also have our conference in early October, and we hope that Mizzen will be in person with you so that you can learn more of these applications and everything. And I just want to say and reiterate, this is like the best kept secret, that Teams feature that they were just talking about. Every time that we have the opportunity to go out and talk about Mizzen, that is definitely the thing that we point to. So just want to thank everyone. If you are registered for this, you will receive a copy of some of the links that were shared in the chat today, including the Hannah Montana video, and the triple threat guide that was shared by our team, and a link to the recording. If you are watching this after and had not previously registered and you want to have those copies of those documents and links, just drop our team a quick email at info@flafterschool.com, and we will be sure to share with you. Thanks everyone for being with us today, and have a great week.
Thanks all.